this year, which has a knock-on effect on our earnings per share, which is a loss per share. Exports are also down this year as global prices have crashed, and exporting is no longer lucrative or even making sense at this point with all the incentives, etc. In terms of market cap and the scale of our operations, we continue to employ 750 employees. Tax contributions are significant at 6 billion rupees. Assets are 96 billion and growing with the projects that are currently coming online, and market cap is 45 billion rupees. In terms of the key drivers of the business, so you can see on the left, let's talk about international PVC prices first. So PVC prices increase, as you can see, this is a month-on-month graph, but it's a little, it doesn't really show a complete picture because you see a run-up in prices in May and June as PVC prices increase due to an increase in global freight. It's been talked about in certain places with the Red Sea issues and other global freight issues with supply chain constraints. PVC prices increased to $980 per ton in the second quarter in May and June because of global freight prices. However, inherently, global demand has remained subdued. That's largely because of the slowdown in the US and in China. Construction sector activity is down. Interest rates are up, which means the housing and construction market in the US and also in China, which are the biggest demand generators along with the supply, are down. That has a knock-on effect. A lot more supply is available for export from these two countries. And actually, India has emerged as one of the, globally as one of the places where a lot more of the global export of global trade is making its way. Demand in India also remains subdued in the second quarter, end of second quarter with the monsoon coming in. The seasonal effect है हर साल आता है, so nothing new over there, but still in America down, China down, and now India also heading downwards. Global operating rates are currently at 75% for the business. In terms of the US and European markets, they continue to face depressed demand. We expect that until the US elections and some action taken by the Federal Reserve Board on interest rates, which will have some impact on starting those construction sector economies and the construction economies and those economies. The slowdown will continue, which will have some impact in terms of the slowdown in the manufacturing sector. Post-July, with the recovery in the import congestion and in global freight prices, PVC prices are now back down from $980 per ton to $810 per ton. And we are expecting that this will remain range bound within these ranges for the short future, more recent future. In terms of core delta, as you can see, core delta took an upward swing on the back of PVC prices rising, and ethylene prices were also declining temporarily, and that was due to weaker downstream demand. Crude oil prices also in the middle, you know, were going down, but PVC prices were higher on the back of freight, and that led to an increase in core delta. However, with the decrease in price from 980 to 800 ke and ethylene prices, which had declined from 1,838 in March to $930 per ton in June, is also steadily inching upwards. The core delta is back in the 300-310 range as of right now. And again, in the foreseeable future, next couple of months, 3 months, that's where it's expected to remain. Post-July, plant shutdown, port congestion, adverse weather conditions because of the storms, etc., resulted in an increase in ethylene prices to $1,000 per ton, and this is where it's expected to remain range bound. In terms of business updates, let's start with a top line review. So revenue this year, in the first half of this year compared to last year, chlor-alkali business, which is primarily our caustic business, has taken a bigger chunk. It can obviously not completely compensate for the PVC business, but around 4 percentage points higher is the top line revenue from the caustic business, as PVC prices have decreased and so have damage sale prices. In terms of segment reporting, the PVC business around -3 billion offset by 1.3 billion positive from chlor-alkali business. And last year, PVC was around 2 billion positive versus 0.7 billion chlor-alkali. So, and this is, by the way, is nothing new. This is how globally, this is how the PVC business, the chemical business works. It works in ECU. Caustic is a baseline business. It supports the PVC business in times of low pricing, as it is doing right now. And the chakke लगते हैं, the upside is largely in the PVC business. So one protects the caustic business at its core and plays forward on the PVC. And eventually, as PVC prices go up, this is expected to normalize to the past rates. In terms of business updates, polyvinyl chloride. So as you can see, 96 KT of sale in the first half of this year. The quarter by quarter breakup, you will see 45 KT sales and 51 KT in the second quarter. And this is domestic sales. So domestic sales compared to the last half year of 2023 is lower. And this is despite the fact that last year, 2023 first half, we had seen a lot of other issues that were gross domestic macroeconomic issues, FCM equaling the economy was slightly down. We were struggling with opening raw material, and so was the businesses in the industry, the larger industry in Pakistan. This year, the issues are somewhat different. Still, domestic macroeconomic issues persist and they are deepening. But what we are seeing now is that the political uncertainty of the first quarter, January, February, has snowballed into higher inflation and rising energy and fuel costs. The rising energy and fuel costs continue to impact the industry at the end of the value chain, which has a trickle-down effect on business manufacturing, large-scale business manufacturers like us. And that there's another impact is because of slowdown in construction activity. Until PSBB funds are allocated and released, and the government works to kickstart the construction economy, cement, steel, PVC, and other construction businesses will continue to remain slightly hampered on the back of lower downstream domestic demand. Despite these headwinds, we are able to support the market and product was made available. We continue to produce as per our plans, and we're implementing various incentives to boost the market confidence. And one of these is that quarter on quarter, as you can see, 13% increase in sales. We have adopted a very competitive pricing strategy to entice our customers and to get them into the market to purchase inventory and produce onwards towards the end consumer. And we're looking to protect our domestic market share and increase our sales in this way. Pipes and fittings remain 53% of our total sale. Still, pipes and fittings, profiles, like cable compounds, others are around 70% of our sales, 65-70%, and construction sector then is the mainstay of our business sales in BBC. In terms of the chlor-alkali business, so chlor-alkali business has taken a running jump there. 17% year-on-year increase in chlor-alkali volumes and in both flakes and liquid. So international caustic soda prices remain stable this quarter. Limited activity in the international markets with the SARA arbitrage opportunities from 2022-23 with really high energy prices in Europe have kind of tamped down, and we have seen since 2023, middle of 2022, caustic prices have slipped downwards steadily towards a more reasonable pricing of around $400 per ton as compared to around $600-800 per ton a couple of years ago in Europe. And while the domestic textile sector is struggling, demand for caustic in the export-oriented denim sector is increasing, and that is where we have found a lot of our sales. Other than this, we have increased our domestic caustic sale slightly as exports have gone down. And on the back of this, we are again back towards our older market, looking to our own market. So with stable international prices, domestic margins are more attractive, And we continue, however, despite this, to maintain a presence in the export market, and that is to ensure that we have valuable foreign exchange coming into the country and to maintain a presence in export markets, because it allows us to take advantage of any pricing opportunities which show up in the more region. Our supply to domestic export-oriented units remain at 78%. If I were to look at consolidated performance first half 24 versus last year, revenue is down on a half-year basis, 7% down, and that is primarily on the back of lower international PVC market, PVC prices, and slower domestic market. And that is partially offset by higher cost of domestic sales. Again, prices down and what's it called? Sale volumes are also down, and both of those are highly impacted by 7% on our top line. EBITDA 77% down versus last year, and primarily that is on the back of lower core data and inflationary pressure. So not only are we seeing our revenue decrease because PVC prices going down, ethylene prices have gone up, which is a primary raw material, which has had a negative impact on the core data, which is our primary core margin, scale variable cost, fixed cost, everything else is creeping upwards on the back of inflationary pressures. That a lot of it is related to fixed cost, and some form of variable cost is in our control, and that's continuing to talk about the data, actively looking to optimize. But where 75-80% of our costs are ethylene, which we have, which are globally determined, gas for power, which is again maybe 5%, which again is not completely the country's control. And last year, gas prices were around 12.50. The price jumped in November of last year, earlier this year in March, and recently in July again, means that gas prices are now trending towards our energy pricing significantly, and that has an impact on EBITDA, the contribution of the EBITDA. In terms of PAT, 158% down year on year, and in addition to lower domestic sales and international prices, higher ethylene prices, and inflation pressure on costs, there has obviously, because of lower delayed sales, an increase in the short-term borrowing, as the cash cycle takes slightly longer to flow and with higher inventory levels, and with the macroeconomic headwinds that had an adverse impact on our profitability. So what you would consider the perfect storm this first half of this year. Looking ahead, this safety remains our key focus. Safe, sustainable operations, we have to complete our ongoing projects safely, and that is our major target for this year. We have made substantial progress on process safety transformation, and we continue to drive towards safety excellence. The kind of plant we run, the kind of facilities we have, this is a major driver for Indonesia. So business results are business results, but nothing takes our focus away from safety in this business. In terms of the PVC business, weak global demand does suggest stable to bearish prices, but while we feel that $800 के आसपास rebound रहेंगी prices, producer margins have really narrowed down. And like I said earlier, global operating rates have slowed down to about 75%. So further price cuts should remain limited. At some point, businesses will start trimming loads even further, and that will bring supply and demand more in sync. So, and that will bolster the pricing of PVC. So domestically, demand is expected to remain subdued with the slowdown in construction sector. However, there is some respite that is expected in the coming quarters for KSPP spend and interest rate cuts. The state bank has started the interest rate cuts process, and that is clearly expected to start at some critical point to jumpstart the domestic construction sector. Also, with PSPP spend, the other exponential governments are looking at projects that should kickstart the construction sector. Construction, like agriculture and textile, is one of the mainstays of the Pakistan economy and has huge employment potential if the government is very well aware of. So we expect at some point that focus or the policies to support the sector will come into play. Ethylene prices expected to remain range bound on the back of crude oil prices, and annual turnarounds, which should primarily have ended in July, but which will also contribute to supply constraints and keep prices range. In terms of the caustic business, the local chlor-alkali industry is primarily influenced by energy costs. It is the single largest factor in variable costing of the caustic business. So whether you're producing from gas or coal or grid, it has a very clear one-to-one connection in the margin. So affordable energy costs will be a key challenge in the chlor-alkali industry. Domestic demand outlook is positive, which is a good sign, and the recovery in large-scale manufacturing sector and the government's increased focus on textile exports further provides a focus to the caustic sector, the denim sector, where caustic and chlor-alkali products are sold in those export value chains. In terms of gas prices, captive gas prices have increased to 3,000 rupees per MMBtu in July, 2750 per MMBtu in March, and availability of gas at competitive rates within minute. ये sector थोड़ा anomaly है क्योंकि what are competitive rates? Clearly, indigenous local gas pricing जो पुराने में $12-15 rupees per MMBtu थी तो बहुत अच्छी लेकिन and competitively थी, but it's not really the right price of gas. So some mainstay, some middle ground has to be found at a competitive price for which industry can also thrive. Because if there is no thriving industry and industry keeps shutting down because of higher energy prices, when the end industry shuts down, it has a trickle down effect, and at some point, the large scale manufacturing will also start getting impacted. So that is a key challenge that the government is grappling with and has to get a handle on. In terms of projects, we continue to work towards executing our HPO project and HTDC project. We hope to have COD, to complete COD commission in 2024. And we are well on our way to achieving that. So, that brings us to the end of our briefing. If there are any questions, I can take them. And of course, you can also put in your questions on the chat window. Just make sure you mark your questions to the entire group and somebody from the EPCL team will answer them. So I'll take questions one after the other. Let's start with Asif Habib.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम।
मैम थोड़ा गाइड करें कि जो सारी ट्रबल कंपनी में आई है इसमें इंटरनेशनल कंट्रीब्यूशन कितना है और हमारा लोकल नेशनल लेवल पे कितना कंट्रीब्यूशन है इस सारी ट्रबल में
मुझे आपका
परसेंटेज वाइज।
फिर से बोलेंगे, सवाल समझ नहीं आया।
अर्निंग्स पर शेयर डाउन हुई है एंग्रो पॉलीमर की फर्स्ट हाफ में जो अब तक के रिजल्ट्स हैं।
क्या जी आपकी आवाज बड़ी मफल्ड आ रही है।
जी मैम मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि इस सारी ट्रबल में इंटरनेशनल कंट्रीब्यूशन कितना है और पाकिस्तान का जो लोकल लेवल पे कंट्रीब्यूशन कितना है?
किस सारी चीज में? इन द बिजनेस रिजल्ट्स?
हाँ, अर्निंग्स पर शेयर जो डाउन हुई है।
देखिए अर्निंग्स पर शेयर जो डाउन हुई है उनमें मेजर इम्पैक्ट तो पीवीसी बिजनेस से आ रहा है, मतलब सारा ही पीवीसी बिजनेस से आ रहा है। एंड पीवीसी बिजनेस इज प्राइमरीली ड्रिवन बाय इंटरनेशनल प्राइसिंग। सो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर कोर डेल्टा कोई $100 पर टन से पिछले साल कंपेयर टू लास्ट ईयर डाउन है, इट हैज अ डायरेक्ट नॉक ऑन इफेक्ट। $100 पे आप लगा लें तो इट्स अराउंड couple of billion rupees। उसके अलावा डोमेस्टिक, एक सेकंड जी, डोमेस्टिक जो इकोनॉमी है, आई होप यू कैन हेयर मी, समबडी डोंट क्लोज मूव।
जी आ रही है आवाज।
डोमेस्टिक सेल्स आर डाउन एंड दे हैव हैड एन इम्पैक्ट, सो अराउंड 500 KT उसका भी इम्पैक्ट है। सो सेल्स का दो तरह से इम्पैक्ट आता है। एक तो ये होता है कि प्राइस एंड मार्जिन्स आर ऑलरेडी वेरी डाउन एंड दैट इज I would say 80-90% margins जो down है per ton are on the back of international. In fact 95% because core delta ही down है. तो समझ लो PVC business में globally वो impact होता है. Sale tonnage is also down. That is on the back of the domestic growth. That is slightly less, around 10-15% would be the impact because of lower sales. But core delta is the major driver of your lower profitability, negative profitability.
मैम ऐसे तो नहीं कोई कंपटीशन में जा रहा हो, आपके जो डाउनफॉल है कंपेटिटर कोई एंट्री हो चुकी हो?
हमारे competitors as such नहीं है. We compete with imported products. So first quarter में there was imports. हमारा market share थोड़ा dip हुआ था, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है कि there is still the domestic market has disrupted on the back of lower activity in the construction sector. So second quarter में imports have not been so high because as prices have dropped, importers are also not taking so many calls. So and we have also followed a very aggressive pricing strategy. So it's not so much that as it is just a shrinkage of the domestic market slightly on the back of lower of negative macroeconomic conditions domestically.
मैम पहले या दूसरे पेज में लिखा हुआ है
बोलिए.
कि मॉनसून सीजन की वजह से इम्पैक्ट हुई है. मॉनसून तो जून के बाद नहीं शुरू होता जी, जुलाई अगस्त में.
सॉरी
मैम मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि मॉनसून सीजन तो जून के बाद नहीं शुरू होता, ये रिजल्ट तो हमारे जून एंड तक है.
मैं जब उस वक्त बात कर रही थी ना, तो मैं बोल ये रही थी कि जून तक रन अप हो रही थी प्राइस इन पीवीसी. तो थोड़ा सा सपोर्ट मिल रहा था, ग्लोबल फ्रेट प्राइस से मिल रहा था और फ्रॉम डिमांड इन इंडिया. लेकिन फ्रॉम जुलाई ऑनवर्ड्स प्राइसेस हैव स्टार्टेड ड्रॉपिंग अगेन. फ्रेट हैज नॉर्मलाइज्ड and demand in India has also normalized. So on the back of that, monsoon की वजह से Indian demand has gone down and that has had an impact on global pricing. Rafia Mehmet.
जी मेरी आवाज क्या आ रही?
जी आ रही.
जी ये मेरे क्वेश्चन जो है वो दो हैं. उसमें सबसे पहले तो मुझे ये पूछना है कि अभी जैसे आरएलएनजी की प्राइसेस वगैरह इंक्रीज हो गई हैं, तो गोइंग फॉरवर्ड क्या ऑल्टरनेटिव्स कंपनी के प्लान होंगे इसको इनकाउंटर करने के लिए? एंड सेकेंडली जो है वो अभी आपने रिसेंटली जो है वो अपनी प्राइस इंक्रीज की थी बाय 500 पर बैग पे. तो आगे जाके जो है वो इसको हम किस तरीके से देख सकते हैं प्राइस इंक्रीज को? एंड सेकेंडली क्या अभी आपकी कोई ऐसी है कि अभी जो डेल्टा नीचे डाउन साइड पे थी प्राइसेस, जो लोअर साइड पर आई थी बीच में मई जून में, तो क्या आपने कोई ऑर्डर बुकिंग एक 2-3 मंथ्स की या 3 महीने की कर ली है या कुछ इस तरीके पे, अगर आप कोई अपडेट दे दें?
Rafia, so your first, I'm sorry, I didn't write your question now. The first question was on alternate power solutions. So alternate power के ऊपर we have done a very detailed evaluation on the different options available in the market right now. And on the basis of that, जो हमें realization हुई है वो ये है कि while indigenous gas pricing is increasing rapidly, any investment into a new project requires a lot of capital expenditure and it will take a while to come into the market. So we are very closely evaluating different options available to us in terms of what works. Certain constraints obviously exist. Coal is an option, obviously, but whether endopolymer, which is supplying the caustic textile value chain, जहाँ पे green value chains will become in the future for the export sector very important. वहाँ पे क्या हम scope 3 में coal use करना चाहिए नहीं. A lot of other options. LNG की pricing पे भी future forecast क्या लग रही है, profitability पे hit आ रही है. We are evaluating a few options for increasing the efficiency of our own power generation and also looking at alternate power solutions like maybe a hybrid solution, grid भी देखी जा रही है, to see where we can create value for the business in terms of power cost, तो किस तरह कम किया जाए. Power cost का ज़्यादा impact जो आता है वो हमारे caustic business पे आता है, which is almost 90% power की वजह से because of the electrolysis process. So we are looking at it on that side. कैसे नदीम साहब से बात कर लेते हैं जी, कैसे ना.
हाँ, मेरा क्वेश्चन ईपीसीएल के जो कीबोर्ड बेस्ड डेट है ओवर 25 बिलियन है, तो अभी के लेकिन जो ऑपरेटिंग प्रॉफिट मार्जिन है उससे नहीं लग रहा कि ये एक सस्टेनेबल डेट है. तो इसमें क्या प्लान्स हैं, क्योंकि अगर लेट्स से ये स्लम्प कंटिन्यू रहता है तो डेट सर्विसिंग का इशू हो सकता है अगले कपल ऑफ क्वार्टर्स में. तो इज देयर एनी प्लान टू मेक श्योर कि डेट सस्टेनेबल रहे?
जी, तो कैसे साहब, what you were saying, half of that is very correct कि the debt, for example, it has increased the run up in the last half year. Primarily sales cycle slow हो गई है, तो उसे close करने में time लग रहा है ज़्यादा. That is why we are seeing higher debt. ज़्यादा RF में increase आया है year on year. अगर आप last year से compare करें, we are around I think 600 million की debt और $1 billion. And right now we stand at around 10 billion or 9 billion rupees. What we are looking to do in the first quarter alone, second quarter alone, we're increasing sales, lowering margins, increasing sales so that we can close the cash cycle faster. We are looking at ways to reduce inventory. And those include, we are evaluating options to increase sales, to do exports, to move product into the market. We are not very concerned or worried about debt servicing because alhamdulillah business ke paas fundamentals are very strong. So there is no fear of debt servicing as such. Lekin yes, there are the levels of debt are pretty high, especially for a cyclical business, and we're looking to close that gap on that on debt servicing. अच्छा जी, उस शेरोज अलवी आई बिलीव नेक्स्ट.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
जी, वालेकुम सलाम.
जी मैम, आई एम शाहरोज फ्रॉम हिल्टन फार्मा फैमिली ऑफिस. मैंने आपको वैसे तो डायरेक्टली भी टेक्स्ट किया है, डायरेक्ट मैसेज मैंने किया है. इफ यू वुड रीड इट.
Why don't you reach out on the main group and somebody from my team will add it on. The process of making hydrogen peroxide is basically we already generate hydrogen. So uske saath, I'm not sure if it's electrolysis or whatever it is. It is not very energy intensive. It's not like the caustic plant. And what are the company's plans to reduce energy cost to ensure sustainable margins? So मैंने इस पहले बात की. We are evaluating multiple different options to make the generation of electricity on our own turbines more efficient. And along with this, we are also looking at different options to purchase power from the grid, from neighboring industries, from our own small investments. And energy is something that we are very closely evaluating. And any investments will obviously be brought to the board. One thing to note is that we run a very complex chemical plant. तो जैसे it is not a very comparable plant because आप caustic to caustic compare नहीं कर सकते. Broadly अगर मैं बात करूँ, so what the engineers tell me is that a caustic plant, if it goes down, if it's on the grid and it goes down, it can come back up within 4 to 6 hours, maybe a day. The VCM plant is a very sensitive plant. So if there is a blackout or a trippage or some other problem in your power supply, this plant goes down for 7 days and has a material impact on your business running business. क्योंकि फिर से start होगा, फिर से the whole polymerization etc. The recent plant will restart, furnaces kick off only. So for that reason, every solution doesn't work for Anglo polymers like it works for maybe our competitors in the caustic business or textile industry, etc. Their business environments are very different, their business manufacturing processes are very different. And that's something to keep in mind when you compare. Also, our larger margins come from the PVC business. And in the PVC business, for example, power is not as much of a mover and driver as it is in the caustic business. So while caustic power continues to pinch us, आप समझिए ब्रॉडली अगर 100 रुपए पर MMBTU बढ़ाते हैं प्राइस तो मेरी कोई 250 से 300 मिलियन रुपए का इम्पैक्ट आता है broadly अगर मैं देखूं, I believe those are the numbers. So energy price has an impact, but as of right now where we stand, we're evaluating any further more viable options than running our existing turbines. I think Ghulam Haider साहब से कर लेते हैं बात.
जी आवाज आ रही है मेरी?
जी
अच्छा मैम, कपल ऑफ क्वेश्चंस आई हैव. सबसे पहली बात तो ये है, फाइनेंस कॉस्ट पे हमने देखा कि इंक्रीज हुआ है ड्यू टू इंटरेस्ट रेट. तो यहाँ पे मेरा सवाल ये है कि डेट टू इक्विटी रेशो जो है 80% प्लस में जा रहा है तकरीबन कपल ऑफ ईयर्स. तो यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन ये बनता है कि जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है वो इस चीज को मॉनिटर क्यों नहीं कर रहे कि इंटरेस्ट रेट आपका हाई है और आप डेट पे डेट लिए जा रहे हैं. नंबर 1 क्वेश्चन. नंबर 2 क्वेश्चन जो मेरा है वो हाइड्रोजन पर ऑक्साइड और एसटीडी से रिलेटेड है कि इसमें भी तकरीबन कपल ऑफ ईयर से जो है मैं इसको मॉनिटर कर रहा हूँ. इसमें कंपनी जो है वो एग्जैक्ट हमें टाइम फ्रेम नहीं दे रहा है, यानी एम्बिगिटी क्यों रखा हुआ है. दैट इज माय क्वेश्चन कि यहाँ पे कंपनी जो है बताना नहीं चाह रहे या कोई मसले मसाइल है तो वो शेयर होल्डर तक रियल टाइम में जो है ये पास ऑन नहीं कर रहे. तो कपल ऑफ ईयर से हम सुन रहे हैं कि एसटीडी और ये हाइड्रोजन पर ऑक्साइड का, तो काइंडली इसको भी जरा आप देख लीजिएगा. और तीसरा जो मेरा क्वेश्चन है, हिस्ट्री में ये तकरीबन 3rd या 4th टाइम जो है लॉस पर शेयर का है, जबकि हमने कोविड का भी एरा देखा है उसमें इतना हमने लॉस पर शेयर नहीं देखा है. इसका कुछ अगर आपके पास जो आपने बताया है उसके अलावा कुछ रीजंस है तो वो भी जरा बता दीजिएगा. और लास्ट मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि केमिकल जो सेक्टर है इसमें हमने देखा कि फ्यूल आरएलएनजी वगैरह और गैस प्राइस जो है वो बहुत ज्यादा मैटर करता है. तो इस हवाले से कंपनी के पास कोई फ्यूचर हाराइजन आप बता सकते हैं कि केमिकल सेक्टर में आप उन सेक्टर को चूज कर पाए जिनमें आप गैस प्राइस या दूसरे जो फैक्टर्स है उसको आप मिनिमाइज कर सकते हैं. थैंक यू सो मच.
ठीक है जी. So let me start with the first question, debt equity. जी डेट इक्विटी हमारा शॉर्ट टर्म डेट की वजह से, मैं 2 दफा पहले इसकी बात भी कर सकती हूँ गुलाम अहमद साहब, बड़ा है एंड दैट इज प्राइमरीली इन द ड्यू टू द डिले इन द क्लोजर ऑफ कैश साइकिल. हमारी सेल्स आर लोअर एंड प्राइसेस हैव ड्रॉप्ड ड्रास्टिकली. सो जब को डेल्टा ड्रॉप करता है प्राइस, एक तो मार्जिन पे भी इम्पैक्ट आता है और दूसरी तरफ आपकी सेल्स जब डिलेड होती है, प्रोडक्शन उतनी चल रही होती है तो आप इन्वेंट्री बिल्ड कर रहे होते हैं जिसको फंड करने के लिए आपको शॉर्ट टर्म डेट लेना होता है. एंड दैट इज प्रिसाइसली व्हाट हैज हैपेंड ओवर द लास्ट 9 months. But however, if you will note, we are gradually bringing inventory down. Sales are growing. First quarter में sales were very slow, but in the second quarter sales have also gone up in the PVC business, and we are gradually bringing the cash cycle back under control. तो डेट इक्विटी रेशो 80% पे बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. ये आप अलग से फिर से देख भी लीजिएगा जब फ्रॉम द पब्लिश्ड अकाउंट. बट यस, शॉर्ट टर्म डेट हैज इंक्रीज एंड वी आर लुकिंग टू ब्रिंग इट बैक टू बाय इंक्रीजिंग आवर सेल्स. दूसरा सवाल आपका था ऑन द एचपीओ प्रोजेक्ट. तो सर एचपीओ प्रोजेक्ट में एवरी क्वार्टर मैं भी अपडेट करती हूँ और एजीएम में भी हमारी बात होती है. द प्रोजेक्ट, देयर इज नथिंग problematic about the project as such. This project has just suffered because of issues in the domestic macroeconomic environment which are outside of the engineer's control. So for example, ये project 2021 में जब हमने शुरू किया 2022 में, तो उस वक्त the Ukraine war happened. उसकी वजह से a lot of the catalyst, all the other equipment जो आना था वो थोड़ा 6 महीने से डिले हो गया. This project was supposed to originally be completed in 2023. उस वक्त जो डिले हुआ, like by the end of this year, a lot of the material was supposed to come from China. COVID की वजह से China went into second lockdown in 2022, in late 2022. So the material that was supposed to come in, जो आपके tanks हैं, जो आपके सारा sensitive cooling tower का equipment है, actually HPO का अपना equipment है plant का, वो डिलेड चल रहा था। वो नवंबर दिसंबर से उसकी आफ्टर द सेकेंड वेव ऑफ कोविड इन चाइना इन 2022 ये आना शुरू हुआ। दिसंबर 2022 में फॉर दोज हु रिकॉल, पाकिस्तान में बहुत सारी जो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज की पेमेंट्स थी वो डिलेड चल रही थी। उसकी वजह से भी कुछ इम्पैक्ट आया ऑन दिस प्रोजेक्ट बिकॉज पेमेंट्स डिलेड, द contractor in China was unable to service our work because वो पीछे और subcontract करते हैं, so they have to make payments backwards for the material to be made ready for the furnaces, for everything else. That resulted in actually a delay of around 6 to 7 months. Into the effect that this year we have started finally in the beginning of this year completed. All the equipment has arrived in Pakistan at Port Qasim. अभी भी एक दो कूलिंग टावर वगैरह रह गए and because of these delays we have had to struggle with other delays like at the contractor end etc. We are looking to complete this project safely and within this year. ऐसा नहीं है कि हम इसमें कुछ छुपा रहे हैं या हम वो नहीं कर रहे, बट फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको 6 महीने से ज्यादा की I cannot give you a month as of this point when this project will be commissioned because there are a lot of moving parts. There is some equipment which is still on the high seas and needs to deliver. Contractors, there have been some movement in contracting staff also, which is creating some flux. But the company and management remains committed to completing this project and bringing it online this year, inshallah. Historical LPS की जहाँ बात करें तो there was a time from of 3 to 4, 5 years. Actually, Anglo-Polymer has really started cutting a profit, sir, since 2021. And especially since 2022, 5.6 billion, 15 billion, 10 billion in 2023, 12 billion in 2022, 10 billion in 2023. ये global commodity cycle के back पे ही चलता है. Businesses in the chemical sector follow the commodity cycle on a cyclical basis, on a lagging basis also. तो historically also अगर आप पीछे जाएं तो probably I think 2014-15 से 13-14 से 16-17 तक का पीरियड था when Co Delta around 300 के आसपास घूम रहा था and profitability was very low. In fact, उस वक्त it was in a worse condition because we did not have economies of scale. What we have achieved recently with the recent expansion of PVC 300 and VCMD 245 is कि हमारे economies of scale बढ़ गए हैं. So it is much more easier for Anglo-Polymer as a business to ride out these downturns, and that is what we are doing. LPS is temporary, inshallah, and we're looking to recover it over the course of the year. Finally, gas or energy prices में काफी बात कर चुकी हूँ, so I hope I've already answered your question. We are strongly and closely evaluating many different options available to us. Renewable भी evaluate कर रहे हैं, grid भी evaluate कर रहे हैं, coal भी evaluate कर रहे हैं, existing turbines भी evaluate कर रहे हैं. As of right now, it appears that all options while viable, investment requirements are significant and comparative tariff benefit is not very sweet. Is not sweet enough to push the commitment. So we are still evaluating it very closely with our business partners and other consultants to look at the best possible option for Anglo-Polymers. We're done with this. It's 4:45. This is the last question I'll take. So if Mohammed Usman, you can ask your question. And then we'll just close up. It's been a year. It's quite a long time. Ji Usman. Usman, your mic is open. I guess Usman is not asking a question. एक सवाल शेरोज अलवी आपने पूछा था डायरेक्ट मैसेज पे, मैं वैसे चैट विंडो देख नहीं रही हूँ, about Lotte Chemicals. नहीं जी, hydrogen peroxide plant is not mainly to supply hydrogen, is mainly used to supply hydrogen to for the purpose of supplying additional hydrogen to Lotte or considering some. देखिए hydrogen peroxide का business जो है, it's just supposed to bring more what we call a new product into the market, which will bring what's it called, which will open new avenues for the business to a new value stream for the business to explore. अभी हम हाइड्रोजन बनाते हैं, वेट भी करते हैं और लॉटे को भी बेचते हैं, प्योर को भी बेचते हैं, लेकिन at some point there is a more value additive use for that hydrogen, which is hydrogen peroxide. That will primarily be provided sold to the textile sector. अभी काफी रिपोर्ट आती है in the hydrogen peroxide business, and उसी को हम जो है इंशाल्लाह substitute करेंगे, so imports go down and we are able to sell further in the local market this hydrogen peroxide as our plant comes into in the business. And on that note, I think we are done, and thank you very much. If there are any further questions. अच्छा जी, राफिया मेमन, एक सवाल था आपका जो आई थिंक मैंने मिस कर दिया था। हमने प्राइस अभी रिसेंटली पीवीसी की गिराई भी है, तो पीवीसी प्राइसेस राइट नाउ अगर मैं कराची के उसमें देखूं और आई थिंक 8,000 समथिंग पे घूम रही है, यस 8,300 की प्राइस घूम रही है। So we don't book a larger quantity like for the next 3-4 months, Rafia, on pricing. अभी जिस तरह की market है, our customers are also, buying month on month. Customers have their own constraints in terms of cash and, onward orders. So pipeline ऐसा नहीं है कि हमने customer book की हुई है larger quantity for next 3-4 months. Primarily couple of months is what we look at. ठीक है जी, thank you very much. And on that note, thank you for joining us for this call. If you have any further questions, Jazib, if you can put our email address in the chat window. If anyone has any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you.
Sure.